All right. If you're wondering, no, Robert did not have a sex change. Alright, we actually have a special video and a special guest today too. From the Kokomochi channel.
Yes.
And I'll put the link up somewhere here or here so you can go to the channel. Very amusing channel. Go check it out, subscribe. But we have a special video because this is going to deal with something called women's self-defense. Alright. Actually, unlike other videos where I have no prep time and prepare anything, I actually did some research on this. So I actually went on YouTube and I was looking through the hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on women's self-defense. And my God, it was painful. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like that way, but seriously, a lot of the stuff I saw out there, I mean, if you do what they do, you literally milk carton and you're going to star on the special victims unit. That's how bad it was. So this ongoing series that we're going to have for the women's self-defense is simple. The very first series, which is this, or the very first episode, is going to be basically the principle behind self-defense. And it's not necessarily women's self-defense, but we have the Kokomochi here, and we're going to talk about the principle behind it. Okay, so first and foremost, 4 principles. And this is very important. The first principle that you should be aware of is the when. Okay, what does that when mean? Do you have any idea?
No.
Totally eye candy. Alright, the when basically, this is a serious subject.
Okay.
Alright, it's a serious subject. The when, basically the idea is when are you going to use what you learned or what you know? For example, a lot of times in self-defense, especially with guys in situations, when you see 2 guys go to the bar and they get drunk, they go, oh, chest, and beating each other. That is not a time when you want to use self-defense. Or when you're in line and you're at 10 items or less and some old lady has 15 items, that's not a time when you want to use self-defense. Move it, Grandma!
I did that once.
Did you really?
Sure.
Alright, so the when is very important. What is the when? The when is you want to use it when it's a life or death situation. Okay, that is the key, most important thing. The first principle is the when. And then the idea behind it is it should be based off life or death situation. Because a lot of times people just get into fights or just do stupid things for the sake of hitting. People can get into fights because they don't know anything else. They don't know, their punch or their kick can't do any real damage. So the life or death situation is key. Now a lot of people ask me, what is a life or death situation? You'll know. Just trust what you feel and you'll feel it. It's kind of like the scenario where, let's say, Audrey goes into an elevator, okay? She's in an elevator, I'm the guy walking in, and then I'm in the elevator too, and then all of a sudden I'm about to close it, and she just has that, God, this guy looks like the Unabomber, right? In that situation, for women especially, trust what you feel. Don't be so upset if, you know, if you hurt the guy's feelings. It's like, oh, well, all of a sudden, you know, she just takes off the elevator because she felt something weird. You got to go with that feeling. Trust that feeling. I mean, it's no different when you go to a guy and say, I just want to be friends. You don't care about his feelings then.
Shut up.
So what's the difference is some total stranger you don't know goes in the elevator, you got this weird, you know, Jedi feeling that something's off. You got to take off at that point. Trust it. Seriously. So overall, to emphasize it again, the when is life or death situation. Okay. Now, the second thing that you have to worry about, the second principle, is you have to have decision behind it. So what does that mean by decision? So assuming that it's a life or death situation, she basically has to make a decision. Is she going to run or is she going to fight? Okay. Now, is there a right or wrong?
No.
Why not?
It depends on the situation. Though, you know, I think I could take the guy, I will fight.
Good Lord.
Take my pepper spray out.
Let's make that milk card picture for you.
Okay.
All right. No, the decision factor is basically run or fight. And realistically speaking, there's no right or wrong. There really isn't. But the major problem that exists with the decision factor is not deciding. You got to decide one way or another. Okay? If you just because let's just say I know how to fight. Just because it's let's just say I have to make that decision. Just because I can fight doesn't mean, oh, I should fight her right away. You know, there's things to be lost no matter how you look at it. So if I have to run, I'll run. Don't worry about it. If I have to fight, then you have to fight. But the bottom line is, you got to make that decision at the blink of an eye, at that moment in time. You can't be half-assed about that decision. Okay? So what we have? Two things so far. The when, life or death. 2, decision, run or fight. Either one is okay. Now, assuming we get into the decision where you can't run, so you decide to fight. Well, first things first, okay. Third major principle, don't fight the force. Okay, so let's give a situation here. Not that this happens, like someone grabs your wrist. Usually it's like some kind of choke or whatever. But the principle behind it, as far as the main idea that I want to point out, is here. So assuming I grab Audrey's wrist, the most common, there's hundreds of ways to get out of this. There's flipping my hand over, or the common way is if I'm grabbing it, the basic principle is, see this opening here, this is the weak part of the hand. She's going to do what? She's going to pull out like that, okay? And obviously, if I'm a stronger guy and I'm holding it, she's going to use 2 hands and pull out at the same spot and obviously twist out and yada, yada, yada. Sounds great, okay? Sounds great. But bottom line is, you don't want to fight the force, okay? If I'm a 105-pound attacker attacking Audrey of the same weight, and I grab her and then she tries to pull out, I'm going to use 2 hands.
Oh, okay. You're really strong. You're not 105.
All right, I lied. I'm more like 110. All right, can you pull out?
No.
You can't. You can't. You really can't. And that's the major thing. You don't want to fight the force. Okay. So, for example, I'm me. She's him. He's him. She's me.
Didn't make sense.
What the hell? We're reversing roles.
Reverse roles. Okay.
Okay. All right. So she grabs my petite wrist here. All right.
Both
now,
hands?
yeah,
okay.
Just one hand. That's fine.
Okay.
One hand. So I'm going to do the same scenario. If I'm here and I'm trying to fight this is fighting the force. If I'm here trying to do techniques like wrist grab and doing this, that's fighting the force too. Okay? If I'm here, I don't want to fight the force. Basic principle. She's over here. Oh, I just hit her on the spot, or hit him on the spot. Why even bother? He wants my hand, I give him the hand. I basically don't fight the force, and I take whatever's open here. All right? So that's the third main principle. Don't fight the force. Basic rule of thumb: there's always somewhere out there bigger than you. Okay? Whether whether you're a girl or a guy in self-defense, there's always someone bigger than you. If you look at someone and he's big, you look at him like, well, I wouldn't challenge him in arm wrestling. Well, what makes you think you can use muscle against him in a life or death struggle situation? Okay? Finally, the fourth thing, and probably one of the most important things I've seen too, and it'll go back dealing with the wrist grab also, is you have to match intent. Okay, you know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
What?
You have to match the intent.
It's just what I said.
Dude, yeah, elaborate on that.
Okay. Alright, so for example, let's say, first of all, obviously she's trying to fight. Let's say she can get away with this, okay? Let's say she pulls it off and then she gets away with it. What's the problem with this? She's not matching intent. Okay? I'm some crazed dude grabbing her arm. And she's thinking what? She's thinking what? Okay, he's crazy, I break away, and I'm gonna run.
Yes. Yes.
Alright? What's the problem with this? Okay, let's say somehow she pulls this off. Okay, now run. Okay, come back here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Pretend she's running, and then guess what? We're back here again.
Wait, you chased me?
Yeah, I chased you.
Dude, I'm a fast runner.
Yeah, well, I'm faster.
Oh.
Okay, so what happens? You're back at square one.
Okay, maybe not that fast.
Why would you do that? Why would you give a person an opportunity again to do the same thing? Okay, so what does it mean to match intent? Match intent basically means that, okay, let's say it's a gun scenario in the self-defense situation. I pull out my gun, boom. Okay? Let's say she pulls out the gun on me, actually. She pulls out a gun. Look at this is the bad guy pretending to what? Aim at my head, trying to kill me. Okay? And then what happens? I take out my gun. Stay there.
Okay.
Stay there. She's pointing at the gun, I'm pointing at her knee. Because I'm not prepared to match the intent. Who's at a disadvantage here? I am. I clearly am. She pulls the trigger, I'm down. I pull the trigger, well, guess what? He's not slam dunking for a while. Okay? So in a self-defense situation, you have to be able to match that intent. If something's like this, he's grabbing my arm and I'm pulling away like this, what am I doing? I'm not matching intent. You're in deep doo-doo if that happens, because that person has a higher alternative as far as what he wants to do to that person, and you're not matching that situation at that moment, and you're in deep trouble at that point. Okay, I always say that it's one thing to arm someone with a gun, okay, or arm someone with a weapon, okay, but can that person pull the trigger? Okay, if you can't pull the trigger, you haven't developed the skill or learned the ability, because you're in a disadvantaged situation if that happens. All right. So anyway, to recap that, do you remember all of it?
Yes. No.
No. Number one is what? When. When is equal to what? Life or death situation. Number two is what? Decision. And you got to decide on the fly. You got to decide what? Run or fight. Okay. Either one is correct. And so, assuming you can't run, and you end up in the fight situation, three, what? Don't fight the force. Basic rule of thumb, there's always someone bigger than you, okay? And finally, number four, you have to match intent, all right? You have to match intent. If he's out to harm you and you're in sparring mode, you are in trouble. This is not a spar, this is not a tournament, okay? So, if you remember these four basic principles, you should be okay, and obviously you have to develop some skill. Mm-hmm. And we'll continue this on our next episode as far as things to do. All right, enjoy.
Cool.